Hey guys, it's Shadow Rift, and today we're gonna be ranking the Warlords Call to Arms units. So, if you have been keeping up with the channel recently, I did the Warlords Call to Arms tournament a while back, along with a full campaign of it. So, we're not gonna be playing the game, we're gonna be ranking the units from the game. So, before we begin, the units I have picked are all the units in-game are here. So, the red backgrounds mean that they're available to every race. Yellow means they're exclusive to certain races. More specifically, the giant troll is exclusive to the mountain trolls, since, well, I chose the Human Alliance as the baseline characters just so that it was easier. And plus, they're the first race that are shown when you lose all your save data, so... Well, let's start ranking. So, S tier means they're, really useful. Insanely powerful at their job. They don't have many weaknesses, if any. And, well, it's S tier. A tier means they're doing good at their job. They're either really useful at certain points, or just good in general. B is for, well, meh. C? Well, it's the lower end of the scale, so, these units are starting to get pretty bad. They might be just too slow to spawn, or even for their power. Or they're just outclassed by another unit. So, let's start. And D tier is for the worst units. Honestly, only one unit goes in D tier, I have to say. So let's start with the Archer. Archer is a solid unit. However, due to it getting outclassed by 2 units later on the list, I rank it in B. So the Archer, one of the first 3 units you start with, the other 2 being later in the tier list. The Archer is overall your only ranged unit to start. It has the second highest range out of all attackers in the entire game, only preceded by another unit later in the tier list. While it does have low damage, only being the lowest of your starting units, at the max damage of 10. However, due to its high range, its decent spammability, I put it in B tier. Next up is the Axeman, a unit I don't often use. However, this thing does outclass the Swordsman. Or should I say a unit that'll be much later in the list. The Axeman rushes forward while chopping its axe. It will rip through spearmen and halberds like it's nothing. So, it's quite efficient at its job of taking out halberds, as well as swordsmen. But overall, considering that this unit is, gets outranged easily, considering it actually... Correction, I was wrong. It actually outranges the swordsman. However, due to it getting outranged by its counters, it also doesn't do too well against high armor opponents like the mounted spearman, mounted halberd, or the longswordsman. So we will be putting this in C tier. Honestly, I don't use this thing. Next up is our first special unit. And, before I forget, ranged units use marksmanship no matter what. The Axeman uses, axes. Axe training. So, next up is our special unit. Our first special unit, the Axe Thrower. The Axe Thrower is an exclusive unit to the Orcs of the South race. This unit is actually solid. In the sequels, it's even stronger. In the sequel, Rise of Demons, this unit is one of the strongest in the game. And it's definitely a threat. However, in this game, it just outclasses the Archer. It does medium damage. Like, there's nothing bad about it, besides it's quite low range. At 750. It does have good armor, though. Next up is another special unit. This time of the Orcs of the North. Now, this unit, he's solid. Like, really good. He can replace the Halberd in the Orcs of the North. The Battle Axeman uses axes and deals insanely high damage, outclassing the Halberd. It does have low armor, the same as the Halberd. In fact, it actually overall has similar stats to the Halberd. It does have lower range, but higher speed and damage, which can make it quite powerful. So I'm ranking it in A tier. Next up is probably the second strongest unit in the game, the Flailer. The Flailer is quite expensive to buy. Honestly, it's a powerful unit on paper. Having quite high range, almost the same as most high-ranging enemy units like the Mounted, as well as even outranging the Halberd. The Flailer is a direct counter to the Halberd, and outclasses it in almost everything. Its weakness is that it can't be upgraded further besides armor and speed. It does not have a upgrade that can be used. However, due to its decent spammability, high damage, and high armor, only being around half of the next unit, this unit ranks quite high. On top of it being much cheaper, it's a solid unit. Do I even need to rank why this thing is on here? With insane stats. Next up is everybody is the most powerful unit in the game. If it didn't take so long to spawn. If this thing took less time to spawn, it would be God tier. It would go in a tier above S. However, due to its long spawning time, it does have a very long spawn time, so... However, it has high speed. Seriously, like... Considering you'll only use this with the mountain trolls, you will have it at a speed of at least 6. Which, for clarification, is the same speed as a mounted spearman. This unit, as it says in its description, is a very tough unit with a very dangerous attack. It takes a long time to produce. This unit has high armor, high range, and insane damage, as it said. With a dealing... Just think about this for a second. The Flailer, an S tier unit, has a fifth of the damage of the giant troll. However, I'm ranking it in B tier. I love this unit, however, there are major downsides that make this unit bad. First off, its long production time. Second off, its insane price in this game, being double the most expensive unit. Other most expensive unit, or almost double. Wait, no, it is double. It actually isn't that good. However, if you send it on a lane, or in a charge, it can rip apart the field. Next up is a classic halberd. Just automatic S tier. This unit is chef's kiss. First off, it's affordable from the start of the battle, making it already insanely powerful. The halberdier, or the halberdier. Also, for clarification, the Mount Giant Troll does not use any weapon upgrade either. And honestly, the only thing that can help it is speed, as it already has high armor. The next upgrade, however, this is a spammable unit. The halberdier, or the halberdier, honestly, it just wields a halberd. A powerful unit that outclasses the swordsman in almost every encounter, with 2 or more. It's extremely cheap, considering it's the technically second cheapest unit in the game, while also being affordable at the start. It's slow, which is actually a strength for it. Its armor is low, and it's weak to archers and mages, but honestly, it is a solid unit. In fact, it's often used as your winning unit. Many people regard the halberd as the best unit in the game. Of course I do too, but point is, it's a solid unit and is available for all races. And speaking of available, we now have another special unit. The Javelin Thrower. Javelin Thrower, in its sequel, is way more powerful. While the Javelin Thrower does have lowish damage, only dealing 25, and a range of 750, just like the Axe Thrower, its speed is higher and its armor is higher, which just makes it better. I rank this thing as solid B tier. It is a little more expensive, and now comes probably one of the better units in the game. The King's Guard. The King's Guard is, well, as its description says, a heavily armored elite swordsman. Oh, and the Javelin Thrower does not use spears. It uses marksmanship, like all other ranged units. Halberd, well, of course it uses halberd. The King's Guard uses swordsmanship, and it is expensive, being half the price of the Giant Troll, at $1,600, or $1,600. It does outclass a lot of units. Due to its whopping 90 damage, range of 130, armor of 120, making it almost as high as that, making it around the same scale as the Flailer, and a speed of 4, this is a solid unit. There's only one weakness, and that's not as spammable as the Swordsman. But considering that's its only weakness, it's getting a high A tier, if not even low S. Next up is the Long Swordsman. Take what I'm going to say about the Swordsman, but make it longer. With a price tag of $1,000, honestly, I don't use this unit a lot, as most times there's a unit that's better than it. Even the Swordsman pretty much is better than it. I rank this in D tier. Honestly, these units are still good in their own rights, but I just don't use them often. Next up is the Mage. The Mage has decent range, high damage, really low armor. Actually, I believe the set tied for lowest in the entire game. Even lower than the Archer. However, its damage, combined with its attack speed, makes it a solid foe. Even higher scale than... there. Next up is the Mounted Halberd. The Mounted Halberd is honestly pretty good. It's a good charge unit. It's a mounted unit. One of two mounted units, the mounted halberdy. Oh, and since I forgot to mention this, the longswordsman uses swordsmanship, the mage uses marksmanship. In fact, we've almost gone through all the marksmanship. And we are about to finish, except we aren't actually finished the halberd. Mounted halberd is honestly a pretty good unit. It's solid. Its only weakness is its low armor and its low spam ability. It's even technically outclassed. However, due to its high speed, being the second fastest unit in the entire game, only outclassed by, well, in my opinion, a unit that will be in the list later. So we have... Honestly, this unit's solid, but not too good. It gets outclassed by its much better cousin, the halberd. The mounted spearman, however, is a brutal damage deal. Even though it has very similar stats to the halberd, with much lower damage at 20, same range, much higher armor, which can make a huge difference, and it is slower, due to its faster attacks, as well as being, well, better at armor. Having the same armor as a swordsman, its only weakness really is just that it's a little too expensive. However, due to it being quite low spammable for a spearman, it ranks quite low. Now, this next unit I underrated so much that, like, I thought it was in D tier. It's an S. That's how powerful that's how much I underrated it. The Ranger is the exclusive unit of... Oh, and respectively, the mounted halberd is a halberd, and the mounted spearman is a spear. Next up is probably one of my new favorite units. I don't often play the Wood Elves, since I often play Mountain Trolls, the Men of the West, the Undead, in fact, literally every race but the 3 with ranged specials. I underrated this thing so much. It does have an expensive price tag, but its devastatingly powerful spam ability. It may have low speed, it has much higher armor than the Archer. At 50, it's the longest ranged unit in the game, which pretty much gives it unique status. Well, its damage does deal less the same damage as the Archer. It outranges the Archer, which is a pretty impressive achievement, honestly. However, where it's at is that it attacks almost double or even triple the speed of the Archer. That's why it's so good. And because of its low speed, it can constantly be hoarded on one lane and just rip through giant trolls and the like. Next up is a unit that I also underrated quite a bit because it dies in one hit from everything. The Scout, otherwise known as my least favorite unit in the game because every other unit can do its job better, is first off the cheapest unit in the game at $400 in the first 2 games. Honestly, it's still C tier because I can't stand this unit, but it does serve roles of gap closer. It is good against archers. Having the same armor as the mage, but much lower damage at only 10, it can kill off itself, as well as the lowest range in the entire game. It is literally outranged by a sword. It's also, honestly, I don't know what the Scout uses as a weapon. And of course, the Ranger uses marksmanship. Marksmanship is now officially done, so now we head on to another normal unit. One of our classic 3, the Spearman. The Spearman is solid. This thing, people underrate this because it has low health and dies to even a swordsman. which is one of the next units. But I have to say, this thing actually can do some serious damage, because it's one of the quickest units to spawn. And due to its decent speed, it can get to archers quicker. It can also take a good hit from them, and well, it's a standard unit. There isn't really much to say about it, besides that it's generally good. However, if you are countering something like a Whirler or a Spearmaster, you want to avoid the Spearmen. So, I ranked the Spearmen in A tier. Next up is one of our final unique units. The Spearmaster has very similar damage to the Spearman, however, is more on par with the King's Guard. Due to its low spammability, since I actually can't pull up the sheet, as there's a bug with the Flashpoint version where it'll delete my progress no matter what I do, I'm going to rank it in solid A tier as it's quite good. It serves the role of a more advanced Spearman, and considering it is in the race where spears are more powerful. Except, according to the scientific method, it's actually not affected by the spear upgrade. I know, right? Probably one of the dumbest parts of this game, honestly. So, next up is my boy, the Swordsman. The Swordsman is generally good. There is nothing bad about it. It does have a slightly slower spawn rate, but due to its high armor, it's on par with the Halberd. And in fact, with the Men of the West, Swordsman is even more powerful than the Halberd. That's why I rank it so high. It is your best starting unit, and actually is quite solid. And now comes probably one of the most powerful special units. Swordsman. First off, let's finish up the Swordsman with it's generally good. There is no, it's not bad, it's not good. Actually, it's quite good. And of course, it uses swordsmanship. However, that all gets dwarfed by the absolute unit that is the Whirler. The Whirler is easily the most powerful unit in its race. Being upgraded by Halberd, by the way, due to its devastatingly high damage per second, attacking rapidly, it has good damage, quite good armor, same as the Swordsman, and high range. I believe it's the same as the Swordsman as well. Actually, it's the same as... It's higher than the Spearman. Looking for a unit that has a similar range. Honestly, I think it's pretty good. This unit, when upgraded, can rip through most enemies. Not a lot can stand to a Whirler that's been upgraded with Halberds 4 or above. Because at that point it's doing 55 damage per hit, which is enough to two-shot Swordsman. So, honestly, I have to say, the Whirler, I underrated this thing too. It does have quite an expensive price tag at $1,600. However, due to its insane damage per second and it's great as charges, it's great to send as part of a group. It mauls through swordsmen and spearmen alike. So, I have to rank the Whirler at number 1 on the list. So, I hope you guys all enjoyed. I have to say this was quite fun to do, and, well, honestly, if I had to change one ranking, I would change the... Honestly, nothing. I might lower the Halberd down to A tier, because it's like, I've tried to avoid Halberd spam. So, I hope you guys all enjoyed this short little video, and I have to say, peace out.